Hello, I'm Rachel, the fiber artist behind the small brand called The Solitary Peach. I have an Instagram account and a Facebook, and I just currently opened an Etsy store. I wanted to start doing a type of video blog that I'm titling Studio Stories. My intention is for it to just be a short video about what I'm currently working on, what I'm inspired by, that will be released on Sundays at 6 Pacific Standard Time. If anyone out there finds me, that'd be wonderful, but I don't have any large expectations. So since this is my very first video, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to run all this. And I'm just going to start with sharing a project that I will have listed in my Etsy store by the time I have this done. But that's not the point of these videos. I don't want it to be sales. I want it to be a collection of creative nerdiness where I can have a little bit of my personality come through, because I do feel like as an artist, always doing marketing and sales is kind of soul-sucking in the nicest way. And I want you to know why I chose that color, or what I got super excited about, or what didn't work. And then maybe if you're an artist out there too, you'll know this did really well, or it didn't, right? I don't know. I guess that's helpful. I am a collector of vintage fabrics and textiles. I have been for quite a while. I do teach sewing classes locally. I've been sewing for, my daughter's going to be 10 this month. So I've been sewing for about 9 years. Naively, I thought that when I had a baby, I would teach myself how to sew, and I forgot how much work it was. So it took me a little while to open that Christmas present and really start figuring out how it works. I am a School of YouTube taught, so self-taught. I never went to some of the cool resources some people have of home economics or sewing class in college. Everything is things I've figured out or stumbled upon on my own. So the first thing I was going to talk about is just this little wristlet keychain that I'm making. But I wanted to talk about where I sourced my fabric, because I thought that was kind of cool. 2-3 years ago, my sister-in-law and I like to do trips to the Goodwill bins, and I stumbled upon loads of vintage bias tape, and I have been hoarding it for all that time. But just recently, I figured out an intention for it. So I'm going to share this is one roll of the bias tape, if you can see that. And I have an entire bin of different patterns of this bias tape and a few different sizes that I didn't make into a wristlet because they wouldn't work. But what I went ahead and did is I bought some cotton webbing. This is a piece I have for an example. And then I bought some wristlet hardware, all off Amazon. I would have loved to buy it locally, but that wasn't feasible. And then I put it through a bias tape maker and ironed it, and then just sewed it right onto that cotton webbing to make these little wristlet keychains. I'm going to share some of the colors that I have if you wanted to see. So here's a hot pink. Hopefully that's coming off. This is a really cool one with like little butterflies and bugs. They all have a gold hardware. Here's a coral rosy one. Now, I believe that these are from the 60s, based off of their packaging. And I am attempting to sell these for, I think $13 is what I have them for. I plan to, wiggle around with my price. I have sold Christmas themed ones at a little market and they did pretty well. I'm going to share my other really cool ribbon that I found. So this is, I'm thinking 70s that I've ironed and folded down and also made into wristlets. It's made in the USA, and supposedly the bolt has 25 yards. And I have this in 3 colors. So I went ahead and sorry, I thought I had these closer to me. I got natural colored cotton webbing, and so I've made these as well. This tan one, chocolate brown one, and then this patchwork one. And they'll all have gold hardware. That was just easier for me to keep it all copacetic, right? This is a fun little project that I'm putting together. I call it like my bread and butter, for the person who wants to support me as an artist, but doesn't necessarily want to invest in a larger piece. They're quite practical too. I have one on my phone. This is like it's gotten a little beat up, but it's a folk arty print one that I made over Christmas. And then they're great gifts. So I think I'm going to move on, right? Honestly, making wristlet keychains is kind of boring for me creatively, but I needed something that I could make in large quantities to sell on the internet. Mostly what I enjoy is making small batches for my local markets, which I use all vintage trims. So I might only have like 3, so it's not very feasible for Etsy store. So the next thing I wanted to talk about just real quick before I end for the day is how I wanted to start designing. I make women's clothing, and I'm making currently a entire what I call mini collection. And it's an Etsy exclusive release, but I do sell my clothing at markets and at 2 art galleries in my area. I like to use vintage bed sheets, fabric, linens, and then create something new out of them. But the hardest part for me is like kind of honing in on a color palette or a design. There's so many cool things. So I found that the best way for me to do it is to design a mini collection. So that will be 2 dresses in each size, small, women's small through women's extra large. And then I wanted to narrow down my focus. So I like to start with a song playlist as my inspiration. So for Christmas this year, my son got me the Spotify Unlimited, and he's paying for it. And that's a pretty big deal because he was asking me for the family plan for the longest time, but he decided just to get the duo and include me in it. So I'm enjoying the new option of not having commercials and creating playlists that I can share. Spotify recommended to me to try the Goblin Core mix, which I loved, and it had a ton of songs that I loved on it. And then I went into what is Goblin Core because I had heard of cottage core, granny core, and I wanted to know what this other subculture design was. And it was definitely my cup of tea. I love the frogs and mushrooms themes and the more earth, less fantasy, more foresty. So that led me to naming the mini collection At the Forest Edge. I'm going to include my playlist if anyone out there finds me and wants to listen to my playlist. But the fun part for me is I have 8 looks. I have more songs than that because sometimes I design more and then narrow it down to what's actually going to fit in the timeline or what's actually working. I'm one of those designers, fashion-wise, who can't watch Project Runway without like thinking of what I would make. And then that distracts me from paying attention to the show or even sleeping sometimes at night because I'm so excited about what I've been thinking about that I need to go and like make it. Does that make any sense? So I've been not watching Project Runway or Make the Cut or any of those. So I can stay on task to be honest. So anyway, I'll get on task right now. So my collection is going to be at the Force Edge, and each design of a dress is going along with the theme of At the Force Edge, and it coincides with the song. So I just listened to this playlist over and over and over while I was designing and then choosing fabrics, and they've really taken on a personality and life of their own. So I'm excited to share that part of the collection designing. I'm thinking next week I'll have 2 completed and I'll be able to share what they're made from, what their names are, maybe even what song they go along in the playlist. I might save that as a secret to put on my Instagram because the music is sometimes just as important as the creation, right? So in closing, because I really wanted to try and keep these videos 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, because I know sometimes my life is too hectic to sit down for a long video. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Thanks for trying to find me. Thanks for clicking on this Star Trek nerdy girl in the corner of her dining room. And I hope you enjoyed this little rambling sneak peek into my creative brain and that you find inspiration. And I'll see you in my next studio story. Hopefully these will get a little more copacetic and entertaining. That was fingers crossed, but I never did it. Okay. Thank you so much.